The draft room at TCO Performance Center is buzzing, and the philosophy we once knew is being completely rewritten as we speak. I am Kevin Seifert, and after years of covering this team from the inside, I have never seen a shift quite as calculated as the one happening right now in Eagan. There is a new hand on the wheel, and the ripple effects for this roster are going to be felt for the next decade. Before we dive into the specific moves and the players being targeted, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video to stay updated on every single Vikings move this offseason. Rob Brzezinski is making it very clear that the days of reaching for a specific position just to fill a hole on the depth chart are officially over for the Minnesota Vikings. As the interim general manager with the final say in the war room, Brzezinski has signaled a massive shift toward a pure best player available strategy for this upcoming draft cycle. This is a complete departure from the previous regime's tendency to chase needs, which often led to overvaluing talent and missing out on high-impact stars who were sitting right there on the board. With 4 picks inside the top 100, including the prestigious 18th overall selection, the stakes could not be higher for a franchise trying to rebuild its talent density. Brzezinski, known throughout the league as a salary cap wizard and a master of roster construction, has explicitly warned that forcing a pick to meet a roster need is the primary reason why players fail and why NFL clubs stagnate in mediocrity. This isn't just talk from a guy temporarily holding the title. It is a fundamental philosophy change that aims to fix years of criticized talent acquisition and poor draft results. The internal discussions have been intense because this strategy means the Vikings might ignore glaring needs at defensive tackle, center, or safety if a blue-chip talent at a different position falls into their lap. Internal sources tell me that the team has established strict guardrails for draft day maneuvering, which suggests a much more disciplined and calculated approach to trading than we have seen in recent years. Instead of the aggressive trading up or down that defined the previous leadership, the Vikings are preparing to let the board come to them and capitalize on the mistakes of other teams that will inevitably reach for needs. The scouts have been instructed to rank players based on pure objective talent and potential impact, rather than how they fit into the current depth chart. This creates a fascinating dynamic, because it opens up the possibility of the Vikings taking a player that nobody expects at 18. Everyone is looking at the defense, but what if the best player available plays a position of strength? That is exactly the kind of move that could define this new era in Minnesota. But how does the coaching staff feel about this shift in power? This strategy shift is bold and definitely carries some major risks for the immediate future of the defense. Do you think taking the best talent regardless of position is the right move for the Vikings right now? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this new direction. Kevin O'Connell is right in the middle of these high-stakes discussions, and while he is a collaborative leader, his role in this draft is evolving under Brzezinski's direction. While the head coach obviously wants players who can help him win games on Sunday immediately, he is reportedly bought into the idea that talent density is the only way to build a sustainable contender in the NFC North. O'Connell and defensive coordinator Brian Flores are providing deep input on player traits and fit, but the final draft board is being constructed to reflect Brzezinski's objective talent rankings. This means that if O'Connell wants a specific wide receiver to bolster the offense, but a higher-graded cornerback is available, the team will likely lean toward the better athlete. It is a balancing act between the immediate coaching needs and the long-term health of the roster that Brzezinski is prioritizing. Sources inside the building indicate that the interaction between the coaching staff and the personnel department has become much more analytical and less emotional than in previous years. They are using advanced data to determine these guardrails for draft day, ensuring they don't get caught up in the heat of the moment and make a desperate trade. Kevin O'Connell is essentially the guy who has to make these pieces work, but he is realizing that a more talented roster is easier to coach than a roster filled with average players who just happen to fit a need on paper. This synergy between the front office and the coaching staff is being tested as they prepare for a draft where the Vikings hold 4 of the top 100 picks. These selections are seen as the vital foundation for the next several seasons. There is a sense of calm in the building right now because the plan is so clear, but the real test comes when the clock starts ticking at pick 18. If a top-tier tackle is there but they need a defensive end, will they actually pull the trigger? The relationship between O'Connell and Brzezinski will be the most important factor in whether this strategy succeeds or fails during the 3 days of the draft. They are looking for high-impact players who can change the geometry of the field, regardless of what the current roster says about their weaknesses. This is a total organizational alignment that shifts the focus from fixing the present to securing a dominant future. The real impact of this best player available philosophy will be felt most acutely in the middle of the draft, where the Vikings have a cluster of high-value picks. By refusing to force a pick at defensive tackle or safety, the Vikings are essentially gambling that they can find veteran stopgaps in later stages of free agency, or that their current developmental players can hold the line. This is a high-risk, high-reward approach because while it ensures the team acquires better overall athletes, it can leave massive holes in the starting lineup that frustrated fans will notice immediately in September. However, if you look at the most successful franchises over the last decade, they rarely reach for needs in the first 2 rounds. They simply stack talent and let the depth chart work itself out over time. This shift is also a clear indictment of the previous regime's drafting record, which left the cupboard relatively bare of young, cheap, high-end starters. Brzezinski is trying to clean up that mess by ensuring that every pick they make this year has a high probability of becoming a long-term starter, even if it means we don't see a new starting center or safety drafted until the later rounds. Looking forward, this strategy suggests the Vikings are moving toward a more conservative and disciplined trade model. We shouldn't expect the wild draft day trades that have characterized Minnesota's recent history. Instead, expect a team that is comfortable sitting at 18 and taking whoever the board dictates is the best value. This might not be the most exciting approach for fans who want to see a trade into the top 10, but it is the approach that builds championship rosters. The future of the franchise depends on hitting on these 4 top 100 picks. If they can land 3 immediate contributors who are top-tier talents, the transition from the old era to the new one will be accelerated significantly. The front office is betting that talent eventually beats fit every single time, and we are about to see if that gamble pays off in one of the most important drafts in the history of the Minnesota Vikings. The pressure is on Brzezinski to prove that his cap expertise translates to an elite eye for talent. What this ultimately means for the Minnesota Vikings is a complete cultural reset in how they value players. For years, we saw this team try to patch holes with average talent, and the result was a ceiling that never quite reached the Super Bowl level. By pivoting to a best player available model, Rob Brzezinski is declaring that the Vikings are no longer interested in just being good enough to compete. They are interested in becoming the most talented roster in the division. This is a fundamental change that requires patience from the fans and incredible discipline from the leadership. It means the draft board will be the ultimate authority, not the depth chart. It means we might see some confusing picks in the short term that turn into Pro Bowl seasons in the long term. This is about building a foundation that can sustain success for 5 to 10 years, not just trying to win an extra game in October. For the fans, this is both terrifying and exciting because it represents a move away from the status quo. It is an acknowledgement that the old way of doing things didn't work and that a radical new path is required. As we head into draft night, keep your eyes on how much the Vikings move. If they stay put and take the best athlete available, you know the Brzezinski era has truly begun. This draft will define his legacy and potentially the future of Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. It is a high-stakes chess match where the Vikings are finally playing for the long game. Will this talent-first approach be the key to finally bringing a trophy to Minnesota, or will the holes in the roster prove too much to overcome? The next few months will provide the answer, and you can bet that every move will be scrutinized under this new lens of talent density over roster gaps. Make sure you don't miss a single update as we approach the big night. Click that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you are the first to know when we break down the actual picks. Smash that like button if you believe this is the right move for the purple and gold. The draft is just around the corner, and the Vikings are ready to shock the NFL with their new philosophy. Skol, Vikings, and I will see you in the next one with more inside info.